What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of At Home with Mark. Today, season 5, episode 9. And I have this awesome band on that I only recently discovered in the past 2 years. And I'm so sorry that I'm late to the game, guys. Got Andrew and Anthony from Greyhounds. Dudes, thank you so much for doing this. I'm super pumped to talk to y'all.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having us.
Yeah. And I was telling him, Anthony, we have a mutual friend in Clint Simmons.
Oh, yeah.
So I when I was at Berkeley, Clint was my drummer. And when I told him that I was having you guys on, or maybe I posted something about it a while ago, and he was like, "What? Yeah, I know those guys." So I was like, "Sweet, you got any dirt I can throw into the show?" He didn't have any dirt. He said you all are wonderful people. But thank you again for doing this. I wanted to ask you, my first question is always the same on the show. I'm so curious about people's pathways with how they ended up where they are and where they're going. What is your earliest musical memories between the two of you?
Oh, but between the both of us?
Well, no, not between the both of you, but as a kid or whatever. What's your earliest musical memory?
Oh, man. For me, I mean, as far back as I can remember, I was lucky. I had a piano in the house. So I just remember that sensation of pressing the keys and something happening. And then that, my reaction to that feeling, and to this day, it just never has gotten old. It's just always that thing. It's it's very basic, but it's basically you just, press something, it makes a noise, makes you feel a certain way, and then you press something else, and then it just keeps on going, just keys on a piano.
How old were you at that time, when you first started messing with keys?
About 3 years old.
Okay.
As far as I can remember, yeah.
All right. Andrew, you got one?
Yeah, my great-grandmother, she taught me how to play piano when I was 5. But only showed me the C scale. That's all I know.
Do you dabble, though? Do you still dabble? Do you have piano in the house kind of thing?
I treat piano I'll mess with some stuff, but I like to just it's so easy. You just can go wherever you want. So I like to just kind of get out with it sometimes and find melodies and just kind of go wherever. It's so easy to play, just pressing buttons, but not easy to play. Not easy to play, but to just go make noise.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a great. I love that.
He's got the feeling, man. We he's better than he's letting on. We're gonna do a free jazz record one of these days. You'll see what I'm talking about.
I'd love to do that.
I'd be open to listen to that. That sounds awesome, guys.
I just need a really good rhythm section.
Call Clint. He's willing to go out. He's willing to go there.
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys. So from that time being a kid and getting bit by the bug, as it were, what were you guys listening to as kids to get you where you are today? Because I feel like you're the reason I gravitate to what you guys do so hard is because it's so in my wheelhouse between the funk, the soul, the there's some blues and rock elements that come out as well, rockabilly stuff. You guys must listen to a lot of music. So what was it at an early age?
I was lucky just, growing up, my parents were always listening to different stuff. I mean, we had a really just, it was all over the place. There was Beatles records, there was P-Funk records, there were old gospel records, and, everything in between. I mean, it was just really, I lucked out in that regard, just, all kinds of music. But, in addition to that, I love, jingles, theme songs, all that kind of stuff, soundtracks. It's just music, if you're listening, there's music in everything,
Mm-hmm.
But, the more traditional, way of course, listening to, old records and stuff like that. I just remember seeing, you know, that mothership on the record cover, you know, and being like, what's going on here, you know, and not even knowing. I just knew it was fun.
Yeah, man.
What about you, Andrew? Anything like in particular that sticks out as a kid listening to records, or?
Oh, I always liked the old stuff. Like back then, they had the the oldies stations, and I loved listening to oldies stations. I mean, now the oldies stations are like classic rock stations, but like, I mean, I'm talking about like, you know, like Fats Domino and like, pardon me, old blues stuff like BB King. Um, I don't know, just a lot of the old music I really dug. And my dad went to California one time, and when I was a kid, he asked me, "What do you want?" And I was like, "I want a Beach Boys album." So he gave me a Beach Boys record, but then he also got me a 20 James Brown's 20 greatest hits. So I got into that, and then got Farrell. Met Brian Wilson. Got a keyboard signed by him when he was a kid.
Really?
So,
That's right.
Beach Boys connection.
How did that happen?
Well, man, I was about, I want to say like eight or nine, and funny the beat. So I grew up in LA, and after, so I learned how to play. Like my mom taught me, you know, a bunch of covers and stuff. And she would take me down to Venice Beach, and so I would play Beach Boys and Chuck Berry songs and stuff. And one day she was like, I'm gonna take you down to Hollywood. You know, we're gonna bring your keyboard." And we went to the Tower Records on Sunset, and Brian Wilson was doing a book signing when he came out with that book. And Good Morning America was there. I played. We were waiting in line with all the people, and I played a little song for them. And I got in there, and I got to, you know, shake Brian Wilson's hand and get him to sign that same keyboard. I still have it. It's at my mom's house, but yeah, it was like a little keytar. But he was really, you know, even at that young age, I could tell, you know, Brian Wilson had seen some things, and you know, you could tell he was just a little different than most people.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Man, that's crazy. That's crazy. So then, Andrew, how young were you when you were playing guitar? Like, when did you start strapping that around your neck?
Oh, I picked up the guitar. Well, I heard BB King in the French Market in New Orleans, and I was like, man, I want to play guitar. Like, I want to play blues. I love blues. And I was 13, and I just got kicked out of orchestra for telling the conductor "F you," but I had really good reasons for that. But I got kicked out. He was like, "You'll never play an orchestra ever again in Tyler, Texas."
That's super specific.
Oh no, he was such a weirdo. That guy. He still plays, man. He's a really good bass player. Actually, he went to North Texas. He should just never taught. But anyway,
And he was right? You never did play again in an orchestra.
no, I never did. He did take care of that. So I picked up guitar, and I started singing in choir at school because I had to be in a music course to play in the show band, and I played guitar in the show band, or bass or drums, whatever they needed. Whoever wasn't there the next year, you know, like I would fill in that deal. But yeah, so yeah, I started playing guitar pretty early, but I was a by ear guy. I didn't really take lessons or anything. I'd play along with stuff that I liked, you know, and figure it out, and then go to jams and figure out, oh, okay, this is an A. What does that mean? Okay, that, all right, slide down to A and pentatonic your way through it, you know. So just learning that stuff by the fire, you know, instead of, I don't know. I've just never been technically trained, I guess. So on guitar, which
Right.
was because I was technically trained on the violin, and I hated how I played it. I didn't feel like I could connect to it. So with the guitar, I learned it how I wanted to learn it, and I had my own connection with it, you know. So I don't
So
know.
was that middle school?
The guitar, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. 8th grade, 9th grade, you know, puberty.
It's
But
usually when it happens.
I didn't pick it up to get chicks, man. I just liked the guitar, you know, and I was already playing the violin, which is kind of the guitar of the orchestra. So yeah, I don't know, you know, I was just
Yeah.
into that.
I love that stuff too because, you know, we all are probably pretty close in age. I mean, I'm in my 40s, but like um that time there's no tabs, there's no YouTube, there's no so like to actually like pick up an instrument like that young and to be learning things by ear took a lot of dedication at that time, you know, like so like there's that elk and there's that like era of generation where we had to like struggle to like get through the quagmire to get over that hump to be a better musician. That stuff is like I think that's lost on a lot of people these days too, man. There's just too much access to stuff. But it's
Patience
also
too.
yeah.
You know, people don't have the patience to sit down and learn, but some do. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know, Farrell. What do you think?
You know, I mean, I think there's people that still have the patience to do it, but you know, I think a big part of it is the motivation. You know, it's like, why? Why are you doing this? Are you doing this because you love music, or because you know you have a connection with this instrument, or because you know, like you're saying, like you want to meet chicks, or you know, you want to get rich, or you want to get 1 million streams, or whatever. You know, I think that there's a lot more to distract you from the just that process because that's what it is. There's no shortcuts. You know, it's basically it's like that amount of time that you put into it and the time you spend with your instrument. You know, it's gonna become a part of you, and yeah, it feels like that aspect has changed somewhat because I don't know, maybe it's technology. You know, there are so many quick like ways to get an idea from your head into a computer or whatever, you know, and so you don't have to necessarily go that you know that route. But I don't know. I mean, it's very rewarding. You know, I feel it's like those early years of like stumbling blindly, trying to just figure out things because I thought they sounded cool or because I heard something in my head. Like, you know, that's what keeps you going even after, you know, your program crashes or whatever. You know what I mean? It's like just that like, hey, how can I physically manifest this thing that's out of thin air? You know, it's magic. And you know, if you get to experience that, you're lucky. You know, but don't deprive yourself of that. You know, even though maybe I don't know. You know, it's like it's all right there in your head. It's a relationship between you and the music, and the less you have cluttering up that connection, the better. I feel. You know.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, I think you got to be hungry like the wolf, right, to really kind of take that next step to kind of improve on the instrument. And I will say this: the thing about access and having all the access to what we do now and the immediacy, I'm so thankful for it because I've found so many great bands like you guys by stumbling across something that led me to another page that led me to a page that you guys were on, and I was
Mm-hmm.
like, "Holy shit, where have I been? This band is fantastic!" Like. And I'm so bummed. I was saying, Andrew, before we went online, you guys have come through Baltimore several times, and I never knew you were here. You know what I mean? And I was like, now I will. But thanks to the internet, you know what I'm saying? Like there's a really positive part of it too. Um, I'm so excited. I can't wait to see you guys live, man. Every live clip that I've seen of you guys, I just am so wowed. Anybody that can play left-hand bass, first of all, Anthony, like, dude, I have no clue how the hell you guys do that and sing beautifully. And like, it's just astounding. Like, how did you develop, like, talk about the woodshed on that?
Well, you know, a big part of it. I mean, I'm left-handed, so that helps.
Right.
And you know, I mean, really, you know, when I first started learning how to play, I mean, it was just kind of like okay, it's just me and the piano. And I'm trying to learn these songs. Like my mom's helping me learn, Johnny Be Good or something, and so I would learn that bass line, and then I would learn the melody. And then wherever, there needed to be something else, I'd try to kind of fit, some comping in there, you know. And that was just naturally, the path I took, like how how I heard music, that's what I heard. I heard, hey, you got the bass line, you got that rhythm, and that's the car you're riding in. And then, you got the bass line, you got the, it's just all these pieces that come together. And, there's a lot of practice. One thing I will say though, for any of you listeners out there that are, interested in learning how to play the piano, the foundation of my whole thing was, I know it's boring, but scales, scales and a book called Hanons, Hanon, Exercises for the Virtuoso Pianist. It's like a book, these exercises that like classical musicians do, warm up for their concerts and that kind of thing. And, they start out really basic and get more progressed, as you go on. But, it's just one of those things. It's so boring, but once you start seeing that progress, you're hooked, and I feel very fortunate that, my mom, made me stick with it. And, that was the thing. Cause yeah, it would have been easy to just go run down the street and just play or whatever, be outside. And I probably could have used a little bit more of that, but that's what it is. Practice, man.
Yeah, man. So Andrew, talk a little bit about the first time you heard him doing that, and like, how did you guys meet?
Well, we put an ad out. I put an ad out in the weekly, LA Weekly, and looking for a keyboard player. And he called me. It was the first ad. He opened up the weekly, and it was the first ad he saw. And he called me up. He played over the phone, and I was like, "Oh man, this is it, man! Like, yeah, let's get together." And then at first we had a bass player, and then the bass player would go to Denmark whenever we weren't playing, and he was just kind of, and then would just show up for shows, for runs. So we would rehearse, and Farrell would play all the bass lines. So we were like, why do we have a bass player? It's like he's already playing these lines, like, and he's just essentially writing the lines and then teaching them to the bass player as well. So it's just like, let's just yeah. So that's how that happened. Although we have played with bass players, like bass players love us because they can come sit in. Like we had a lot of great bass players like just sit in with us because they could, because there's no, there's Farrell's playing bass, but he's like, yeah, sure, plug in. I've still got all this other stuff I can do.
That's awesome.
So, but as a core, yeah, that's how it kind of was sort of forced to happen, but it happened naturally, and it was almost just like, well, why have we not been doing this since day one?
Yeah. So, I mean, that bottom line, man, when you got just 3 cats instead of 4 cats, it's different, right? Traveling and doing gigs and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. And the energy, odd numbers are usually pretty good. We've generally played in odd number bands. Like with Mofro, that was an odd number band. Like, I don't know, we like an odd number of chromosomes,
Yeah. Dude, so when you guys were both in LA, and then how did the migration to Austin happen? I don't know this story.
Oh, well, I moved to Los Angeles pretty much right out of high school to play music and to just do the music thing. I was like, oh, New York or LA.
Right.
So I went to LA. And then Farrell grew up out there. And then we started playing, and then we got management, and our management was in Austin. I had family in Austin. My brother grew up here, and we fell in love with it. I already was in love with Austin, and then Farrell, yeah, we just kind of we felt like this was where we need to be. You know, we loved the scene at the time when we were down here. There was Barfield. I mean, there was tons of stuff. I mean, there was just a lot of stuff happening here that was accessible to us more so than LA. I felt like, I don't know, maybe Farrell can elaborate. Why did we end up here, dude?
Well, yeah. Our manager was like, yeah, maybe you guys should consider coming down here. And Andrew was already thinking along those lines. And for me, I had grown up in LA. I love LA, but I'd spent all my life there, so it was kind of like, okay, well, try something different. And Austin's incredible, man. Just and it was at that particular time too, it was just so wide open. Like, the community was very tight knit, and people were just so welcoming, and it was real easy to just get into things. Everybody plays in each other's bands, and for whatever you're doing, there's a place where that will make sense. Whatever style of music or whatever kind of thing you're trying to make happen. There's a lot of talented people that live here, not only musicians but artists that of all sorts, that kind of just make up the whole thing. And then in addition to that, just the landscape. I mean, it's just one of those rare places. Like, we've gotten to travel all over, and there's no place quite like this in terms of, you got the natural splendor, the green belt, all these different things. And then you have a city which has, all the best things that a city can offer, but it's not this like gargantuan city. Even now with all the growth, it's like, it's still relatively small, and it's just a unique mix of all those things. And it's awesome.
Yeah. I need to go out
I'm
there.
very
Clint,
lucky that I came here when I did.
yeah. I need to I've never been to Austin ever. That's like one of the places I need to get to. And, Clint's been trying to I had him come out to Baltimore to do a gig with me one time just so we could have some fun together. And he's like, we got to do it here. So I got to make it, a point to come out there. I want to talk to you guys about, so piggybacking off what we were just talking about the scene. I know that there's, like you were saying, like, you're working with a lot of people, doing a lot of different gigs, doing studio sessions. Andrew said that you're heavy on session work, Anthony. So you're in, working with a lot of different people all the time. Like, how, because I know you guys you're great songwriters too. So like you've worked with other people and written with other people. And I was reading about, so you guys worked with Susan Tedeschi and Derek Trucks. What project was that? I don't know about this. I just read that.
Well, go for it, Andrew.
Oh, all right. Well, yeah, that was a lot. Well, I mean, we've known Derek forever. And then we obviously Todd Smalley. We played with him as bass player, and the Derek Trucks band before Tedeschi Trucks.
Mm-hmm.
And we've always hung out, done shows, and we had a song that we recorded a demo of called oh gosh, what's the name of that dang tune?
Standing on the Edge of Love.
Standing on the Edge of Love. And we did this song with this guy, Hunt Sales. And I don't know if you know Hunt Sales, but Soupy Sales' son, and he plays drums. You know that song, Lust for Life, Iggy Pop? That's Hunt. So Hunt's been on tons of stuff. Anyway, Hunt went in, and it was quite an experience in itself. But anyway, we ended up with this tune, and we looked at each other, and we're like, man, this is totally something they should do. This Stand on the Edge of Love song. So we sent him the song, and I sent it to Derek, and I'm like, yo, dude, this is the tune. Like, y'all got to record this tune. And so it became part of their live set for a couple of tours, but I don't think we never made an album. So then a few years later, JJ's like, what did y'all do with that tune? And we're like, well, nothing. They just played it live in their set. And he's like, oh, I want to put it on my album. So he put it on his record.
Okay.
it made an album, but as far as working with Derek and Susan, we've done a lot of stuff with them, a lot of touring. Our live album that we put out, Heaven on Earth, was all board mixes that Bobby Tees did on that Susan and Derek run up the West Coast. And like we've always had I have an amp from Derek. I mean, like they're very good people. They've I haven't seen them in a while. Hopefully I'll see them soon, man. We haven't seen those guys in a while, but they're real top notch folks, man. The whole crew, like everybody's solid. Like it's they're so yeah, we've been lucky to work with them for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I will say they just came through here in this past summer, and I know Gabe Dixon. So Gabe got me backstage, and you know how they say don't meet your heroes? That's bullshit. Because when I met Derek, he could not have been a nicer human being. I was just like, I mean, he's like one of my idols, like as a guitarist, you know what I mean? And he's just like so down to earth, was just talking to me about guitars and all this stuff. Oh, it's just such a great people, man. And then what is the songwriting process for you guys? Because you both write. So as a writer, I'm so curious how you guys curate the tunes that you're willing to put on a record, that you're willing to wear on your sleeve. Because it's a very personal thing when you're a writer about like, you know, the imposter syndrome of is like, is this good enough to make the 12-song cut? You know, like, what do you guys do? Do you put those songs in a cage match and you let them fight it out, and then you figure out what you're going to put on a record?
Man, I mean, it's different.
Yeah. There's no one way.
Yeah.
For us, you know, it's just kind of like, I think it's like a reflection of just, you know, the time that we're in a lot of the times, you know. It's you know, Andrew and I you know, it's funny because you know, Andrew, I think, is a more prolific writer of us, and you know, he's always coming with some very interesting, just, you know, you just don't know what he's going to come in with next. And you know, I've always been more on the music side of things, but you know, as far as like choosing, you know, what we just kind of throw it all in there and just kind of start working them out, and you know, just kind of what rises to the top is pretty evident. You know, I think we both have a pretty similar taste in terms of, you know, like what's moving us, and what we're like, okay, that's hitting, you know. But you know, perhaps you'd like to elaborate on that a little bit more. True.
Man, I mean, yeah, it's all different. Like the last thing we just did, we did like a EP or whatever the hell you want to call it. Like we did like some tunes out in West Texas. We rented an Adobe house and just took all the gear out there, and we tracked everything and then brought it back to our studio here. And like that was real organic. That was like, you know, just like come up with a drum beat and then add some stuff. Oh, what if we put that on there, or we went here with that, or whatever. It was real loose. And then like you have Primates, which is the album before that we do with Steve Berlin, and those songs were all demos. Farrell and I went in and made like 48 demos, literally. Just I think it was around that. It was in the 40s. It was a lot. And then we just whittled down and then slowly added, like figuring out which ones had legs at the time. You know, some stuff needed another melody, or it needed lyrics, or whatever. I mean, but the process is so crazy. I've been writing with this dude, Scrappy Judd Newcomb, man, and he is funny. This guy, you know, and then also write with this guy, David Jimenez, for this other band that Farrell and I are in called Nuevo. And like, just funny stuff. Like everybody's got their own process, but with me, I'm more like, let's get it done. You know, I don't like to sit on stuff. I don't like to think about it. But Farrell, he'll slow cook his tunes, but he always has the best tunes on the album. And mine are just like filler.
I don't know about that.
You need a radio hit, call Farrell. If you need filler, call me. I can fill your album up with shit. And then Farrell can put in the gems. You know, it's like, you know, the diamonds got to have coal around them before you find them. You know, I'm a He's the diamond.
The Hope Diamond is surrounded by diamonds.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
There
So
you go.
Yeah, so
anyway,
Phil's the Hope Diamond, and I'm the diamonds around the Hope Diamond.
a
There
lot
you
of
go,
diamonds
brother.
around the Hope Diamond.
It's all glass to me, man. Do you guys like write for each other too? Like, you know, Andrew, do you write something you're like, oh, like Anthony would crush singing this, or like this is an idea that I think would be killer for him to take, and vice versa. Like Anthony would
Oh
be
yeah.
like, oh, yeah,
We
okay.
know when we come, like we'll come up with tunes individually too, like patterns or vibes or like a bass line to a beat or whatever. And we generally, I think Farrell can say, he'd have to answer himself, but generally I know any of the ones I'm doing, I'm like, man, this is more of a Farrell tune, you know, as opposed to me. You know, and vice versa. I feel like Farrell's come to me and he's like, dude, this is a song that you should sing. Like, yeah, it's, and again, that's all like we just leave it up. It's like to the universe, you know, like we have these ideas come and then we know which ones we want to bring together for us because we know what's going to work best with us, and then we decide, okay, well, which one of us is going to like take the kind of ownership of it as far as like having to like sing it and bring it, you know. But we've also been experimenting a lot with singing together, like in
Mm,
unison, and
mhm.
that's been really awesome. And then like there's been we're definitely singing together a lot more than we ever have, and including our drummer Russell Lee, he sings as well. So it's like all three of us are singing and doing these vocal parts and some harmonies, and it's like it's like Farrell's been telling me for years he's wanted to do this, but it's taken us like nearly 25 years to start doing this, I guess. But I feel like we're starting to really hit a stride with that, and it's really exciting. Um, for that, because then it's like opens up some other ideas. It's like, okay, all right, we proved we could do this, like, you know, what's some more of that kind of stuff, you know. So that helps with the writing as well. But yeah, there's no real rule to our process, and that's, I think, what keeps us still working together is because we both have we just don't have any real rules to what we do, and we both dig what we do, and the parts that we help each other balance out with the superhero parts I got and the superhero parts he has, and that's Greyhounds. You know, I can't do that without him, and it's like, you know, so I don't know. We don't have. It's all different. We keep it interesting, always different. Every
That's what's
project we
cool. Yeah, that's
do.
what's cool about your records is like from
Thank
record
you.
to record, it's got like different vibes, and like you can tell you guys might be listening to something different at that time that's influencing the arrangement or how something comes out. Like, is there, you know, when you guys are working on a record, because what I think is also cool about your records, and I will tell you this really fast, like the first song I heard was You're Gone. That's the first song I heard randomly. And it was a live version. It was from it was some like TV broadcast. It's on YouTube. Um, and I was like, dude, like I probably listened to that song 4 times. I just went back, watched it again, kind of thing, because I was so drawn in by the groove you guys carry. It is like, and that's the thing, the music that I absolutely adore is heavy groove music. And you guys, it seems like it comes so natural to you guys to just write the most banging grooves. Like where does that come from? Does that come from the funk background? Like where is that stuff sprouting from?
Well, I think that,
R&B?
you know, both of us are into, you know, music that grooves, basically. You know, I mean, it's like that's kind of the bedrock of everything. Andrew, you know, listened to a lot of blues, that kind of thing, and you know, I always listen to a lot of like soul and funk kind of stuff. And you know, when we first met, you know, one of the things we bonded over was the meters. I remember that
Mm.
summer was the first time I had heard the meters, and I was like, "What is this?" It just freaked me out, you know. And then, you know, later on that year, Andrew and I connected, and that was one of the things we were talking about. We were just like, "Oh man, yeah, this is amazing." And so, you know, that was just like from the beginning, like that was always kind of, you know, the springboard for a lot of where we're coming from, you know, and what we're trying to accomplish. You know, we want people to be able to either dance, or we want them to just be able to, like, you know, get into it and just, you know, groove. It doesn't necessarily have to be like, you know, dancing around, but, you know, you're just in your chair, just kind of moving, you know, not too cerebral, you know, not thinking about it too hard, just you know, get in the zone with it, you know.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely speaks volumes from record to record. I mean, every time I listen to a new record of your guys, or if there's stuff I'm going back to listen, and then the live record too, it's like, that's the jam, man. Like, that's people like should sometimes, you know, I have some friends who I exposed your music to, and like, you gotta listen to this live record, because it's like, yeah, studio records are great, production's great. There's a lot of really cool ear candy stuff, but like, you gotta hear these guys live. Like some of the clips from Rockwood from New York, that you guys have, like, that are up on YouTube. Like, I always send those to people. I'm like, you check out this killing band. Like, you know,
Yeah, I
it's just
remember.
like, oh man, it's and the vibe and the like energy that you guys were bringing on those clips was just, dude, it really makes me happy to still be hearing music like this being made. You know what I mean?
But
There's not enough of it.
yeah,
You know?
man.
There's
Thanks.
not enough.
We've always been like live guys. You know, I love being in the studio. I love, you know, making records. I love all the whole production aspect of doing all that. But, you know, there's just nothing like, you know, being on stage and making that connection with, you know, an audience, with each other. And you know, that's kind of that's what makes it all worthwhile. Like, you know, when you're on the road and you drive 8 hours, and then, you know, you're waiting around, and finally you get to play, and that's the thing, you know,
Yeah.
and that's what keeps you going to the next gig.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so great, dude. Let me ask you, since you just mentioned being in the studio, because like your records sonically are so fun to listen to, because there's, you know, compression breaking up a vocal, or there's really ethereal stuff, or it's super tight and funky and like focused. And I can tell, like, you know, the retro meets modern kind of thing that's going on with you guys. And it can be from song to song even too, like what I've, you know, noticed from listening to your records over the course of the past couple years. To me, that's super admirable. I love that stuff. And I love being able to, how you guys kind of reinvent what you're doing every record too. It's like this fearlessness that I really admire in musicians, that you guys just personify. But like when you go into a studio and you're like, okay, this record, we got these songs from this list of 48 songs. These are the ones we're going to try to tackle. Do you guys like really hardcore deliberate over like the arrangements and how you're going to attack recording it? Like, do you have a sound in your head? Like this tune needs to be like, the vocal needs to be more forward, or this tune, you know, I really want to kind of get the vocals breaking up a bit, or I want to get the guitar out front a little bit more. Like, do you guys talk about how you're layering these tracks and building them? Because it's not like you guys have layer upon layer upon layer of instruments. You can tell there's space in there. So I'm curious how you guys do that.
Well, I mean, that sounds like a lot of like mixing kind of
Yeah,
stuff, or
yeah.
like if we're like a mix, like getting the sounds, or I'm
Well,
still trying to.
that plus the arrangements of the tunes to like make it, to bring things out. You know, if you're like, oh, I really want to spotlight this in the arrangement of the tune, because like this is a heavy keys tune or a heavy guitar tune kind of thing. So yeah, how it gets to that mix. But do you guys like preemptively think about that when you're about to record those tunes?
Um, yeah, I mean, generally we have an idea of like what we want melody we want to be leaning on. And we generally have a structure set. We did have a really pretty good idea of the instrumentation and what those instruments are going to be doing and where we want them to sit in the mix, and then also the vocal sounds. Um, we like to slam a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
Um, you know, it's pretty, and then once we get there, we kind of just let that just let it kind of lead the environment as the song starts taking shape, as the tracks start getting laid down. Farrell might be like, man, I want to change that keyboard part, or maybe it'd be cooler sound using a Wurlitzer instead of a Rhodes, or maybe we need this like crazy flute patch on a whatever thing. And maybe I'm like, man, a banjo back there might be kind of cool, just ping panging or whatever, like there's like, it really doesn't, I don't know, we just kind of flow with it once we get into it, but we're very aware of all that. We don't really, we used a producer for the first time, really, technically. I mean, a real producer, I guess, Steve Berlin on the last album. But like, he kind of still let us go do all that, and it was just nice because he didn't really like tell us how to sound. He just kind of helped us sound like we sound, or we were at that time, like what we had. We brought in like a lot of those tracks were tracks that Farrell did at his house, or tracks I did at my house on GarageBand, and like whatever. It's like it was loose, and then we built upon that in the setting, constructed the song and what we wanted to add to it. So yeah. I mean, go ahead, Farrell.
We don't go in there and be like, oh, we want this to sound like 70s,
right.
I don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, because, a lot of people go in there with that idea, like, oh, we have this aesthetic thing, and for us, it's more about like, okay, well, the environment that we're in, I think the biggest decision is like, okay, like, are we all going to track this together, like on the floor, or are we just going to kind of layer things, and those are that's really the biggest distinction, I think, song to song for us. Because we don't want to do any, we really try not to do anything that we can't reproduce live. And that's something that, on this last record has been a little more challenging, just because there were some more elements, than necessarily what we could reproduce. Like it just takes a little bit of work figuring out, okay, what's the essential part here, what can be omitted, that kind of thing. For the most part, it's like our overall, I think, philosophy as far as the sounds is just kind of like, they got to have some character. We don't like just super clean, dry. Like, no, we want saturation. We want slam it. We like the tape. We like, all that. I mean, yeah, but we're not like, slavishly devoted to like any kind of, it's got to be just like some other thing, because that's just like unnecessary limitations on yourself, as far as we're concerned, I think.
Yeah, which makes it all the more cool that it's just organic and just comes out of you guys, because it's like you don't try to do something retro for the sake of doing it to sound retro. Like, it's not, there's no point in that. It's like it just comes out. Do you guys get to use like, and I'm sure you probably have a bunch of cool vintage gear though that you get to bring to sessions and like capture that soul of that instrument? Like, do you have a bunch of old amps, Andrew, that you usually kind of bring into the studio to kind of pick and choose what you want to use, or are they at the studio already?
Well, I officially own my own amp now. I haven't in years. Yeah, I've been able to scoot by borrowing amps from friends of mine who have great amps. But yeah, basically, my main rig now, I played a Viralux for years, and that was just my perfect. You can play that amp anywhere. It's got great reverb. You got 210s. You can play it in a small club, or you can play it in a stadium. And it's like that. So basically, a buddy of mine, Diego, he built a copy of one, but was able to put like the technology or the reverb tank into the amp as well. It's pretty crazy. I wish I was more technically savvy to explain to you what was going on with this amp, but it's awesome. I've never had a lot of people are getting amps built by him around here right now, but he's Diego Andrea is his name, but his amps are sick. So I have one of his, and then I have numerous weird guitars. Just most of them barely work, which is perfect for me. like just to get some of the character out of those. But I got a number 1, and that's an old Silvertone hollow body black that now has on the neck my name.
Nice.
Which was done by a buddy of mine. Like, as I didn't ask him to do that, he did that for me, and by a guy named Kelly Barber in East Texas at a place called Action Sound. Check that place out. If you're ever in East Texas, Northeast Texas, go by Action Sound. It's a gold mine of gear and amps, and it's awesome. And I don't know.
Can't believe you told everybody, man.
Whatever.
Dude, I'm going there if I come out there, man.
In Hawkins, Texas. Good luck, man. Take a lunch, because they're the only place you could eat around there just burnt down. So that's for real. I went out there to have lunch with Kelly. I was like, where are we going to eat? The Subway in the gas station? He's like, that's all we got, man, or some bag of chips. Like, the diner burnt down. It's still burnt.
Man.
Anyway.
Dude. Well, what about you, Anthony? I was going to ask Anthony, too, about his rig and stuff, because I see you with different stuff all the time. and like, and playing Hammond stuff, like, you know, because I play keys, too, and I've been looking for a good keyboard. So I, like, borrowed an SV2 from somebody, and I didn't get along with it. And then I saw this new, have you seen those new Yamaha YC? Like, the organs on that sound amazing.
You talking about the little tiny red one?
No, so they come in a 61, 73, and 88.
Okay.
There's drawbars on it. So it's not like the Nord where it has like the digital or the early Electros that had like the digital drawbars. This actually has drawbars on it.
Wow.
But it sounds sick. You should check it out, man. But I'm curious about how you're bouncing around with finding out what you want to take on tour.
Well, you know, for a long time, I traveled with like Rhodes and Hammond XK2 and, you know, Leslie and all this different stuff. And, you know, it really, you know, it sounds amazing and it's great. And, you know, but I finally reached a point where I was just like, you know, after something broke and you know, just things breaking all the time and all that kind of stuff, I finally threw my hands up, you know, and really the epiphany for me was when we did our first European tour. We were looking at prices on renting, you know, all that stuff. And, you know, it was like, oh, forget this, you know, I can, you know, we'll figure out something different. So what I ended up doing, I got like an ARP Odyssey, like they licensed the you know, the rights to reproduce them. So it's like a new one, and they made them with like mini keys. So I've got one of those, and it comes with like a little suitcase. That's my bass synth, and it does so much more than that. But you know, it's really great for bass. And then I got a Chord micro sampler, and I basically sampled the Rhodes sound off of Logic Pro and put it on my keyboard, and that's my Rhodes sound. And then the Yamaha Reface YC, is basically this really tiny little, you know, keyboard that has like 6 organ sounds in it, and it's got these little rocker switches for like little sliders for drawbars. And that's what I've been using for the last couple of years. After I did that European tour, I was like, why haven't I been doing this all along? You know, basically I'll just, you know, go through a bass amp and a couple of guitar amps, you know, and like you said, you know, earlier, you know, it's like we're not, it doesn't have to be this vintage, you know, crazy stuff for it to sound good. And you know, no disrespect to an audience, but you know, most people who aren't musicians aren't gonna, you know, appreciate the significance of you having a Fender Rhodes up there. It looks cool, and definitely that you know, means a lot as well. You know, it's a show. So, but you know, in the end, it's like, hey, what's gonna make the show happen and not, you know, break our backs carrying it up the stairs, whatever we got to do, you know. Makes sense.
And be reliable and like constantly reliable. I mean, I'm sure, like, have you had a bunch of issues? You guys have had issues on the road with like tube amps, like just going up and you're like have to scramble and be like, all right, we gotta get something. We need something.
Yeah, we've been pretty resilient.
Yeah, we've been fortunate.
We always bring a little extra amp or something, or
Right.
yeah, it's we figure it out. That's the other great part is we just figure it out, and at Farrell's small keyboards, if anything, it's more exciting to watch him play those than a Fender Rhodes because it's like just all these little tiny keys he's like hitting, and like he has these little keyboards and it's weird, like nobody has the balls to do that.
No.
Yeah, all the keys are like the size of like basically little kids' keyboards. Yeah, people are like, what? How do you do that? Because yeah, people can't stand it. That I feel very fortunate though that that's what I grew up playing, and it doesn't matter to me. I like the limitations, and yeah, it's fun. It's funny to look at. I'm not like a small guy, and so having those little tiny keyboards, it just kind of it's more almost like a caricature.
But it sounds dope, man. It sounds big and it sounds dope. That's the thing. It's like, who cares? Like, it sounds great.
Exactly. And that's where I'm coming from. I mean, hey, I love all the vintage stuff, and there's a place for that. But when it comes down to it, it's like, hey, we're here to make the show happen. What's gonna make that happen?
Yeah, that's so great. Well, you got to check out that keyboard though, man. I'm telling you, like the Yamaha YC series. It's the 6173 and the 88. I was like shocked how good. It's cheaper than the Nord stuff, and I think the organs sound better. I think the organs sound better, man.
If somebody from Yamaha's watching, get at me. My name's Anthony Farrell. You can just give me a holler and let's talk about it, because I already got a YC. I think it's pretty cool, but I don't know. I might start using something else. I don't know. Y'all need to call me.
Get it in his hands. Oh man. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to we're going to do the lightning round get down because I want to take up all your time here. So what I'm going to do, I'll explain this quickly. It's 10 questions, rapid fire. I'm going to put a little metronome on just for some suspense. We're going to go around 112 BPM. And if you want, you guys can explain your answers, but you don't have to. I love hearing explanations of why you chose what you chose, but it's not mandatory. All right. So maybe what we'll do is to be more organized. How about we go? I'll ask the question, Andrew, you first, and Anthony, you second. How about that? Does that work? Because it's the same question to both you guys. So, first question: Beatles or Stones?
Elvis.
Not part of the multiple choice, but I'll take it. Anthony, how about you? Beatles or Stones?
Devo. Sorry.
My question's usually Lennon or McCartney, and people get so annoyed by that. I'm just like, all right. But I mean, if you had to do Lennon or McCartney, what would you do?
Oh man, that's tough. I'm a bass head, so I gotta say McCartney. I mean, if I gotta choose one of them, sorry, John Lennon fans.
All right, lemonade or iced tea?
Both.
I'm a lemonade guy.
Yeah.
Lemonade all day. Okay. Barton Springs or Deep Eddy?
Barton Springs.
Yeah, Springs, man.
Yeah. Deep Eddy's nice if you live here.
All right. Fly or drive dates? What do you guys prefer?
Fuck. I mean, depends on the gig, I guess. Fly.
I think I think driving.
Drive.
More that way. Yeah.
I agree with them. Driving, yeah, because you acclimate to the gig, man.
There you go. Letterman or Leno?
Conan all day. Sorry, guys.
Conan. All right, Conan or Fallon? There are two Tonight shows.
Conan. Yeah,
I know. All right, here's another one. Curtis Mayfield, Marvin Gaye.
I gotta go with Curtis.
Yeah, sorry, Marvin.
Yep. Yeah. All right, this one's for you only, Anthony. Rhodes or Whirly? Which one do you prefer?
Rhodes. Rhodes, all the way.
All right, Andrew. This one's for you. Fender amps or Vox amps?
Oh, Fender.
All day.
Fender. Yeah. No Vox.
All right. And then Clint gave me this one, food-wise. Blacks or Franklin barbecue?
Blacks. Well,
yeah. Well, it depends on what you get.
Either, man. If you want to come eat barbecue down here, that's not my. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? What did you say, Farrell? Valentina's? No.
Oh man, I mean, dude, see, you know what? I look at it like this. I had a then friend visit, and it's all about what you want. There's something that you can get at any barbecue place here in town that you can't get at any other barbecue place in town. It's like, and so it's all about that, finding that thing and getting that at the place that you're at.
Y'all check out Mimsy's.
Another BBQ place?
That's in Crockett, Texas. That's my favorite. I'm trying to get the light to go up. But yeah, the Mimsy's.
Okay.
That's the spot. It's in Crockett. That's Crockett, Texas. Good, very good barbecue.
What's the best tacos in Austin?
That's a very
depends on breakfast or lunch. What part of town you in?
Right. There's that many taco places that are that good,
man. I mean, Yolanda's, Guerrero.
Let's just say Yolanda's.
Guerrero.
Yeah.
On, Chavez and Pleasant Valley.
I'm writing this down. All right, and here's the last one. Sometimes this is the hardest, and sometimes it's the easiest for people. If you guys could take one album, and it does not have to be your favorite album of all time, but if you could take one album and erase it from your memory, just so you could go back and listen to it and experience it for the first time again right now, what album would that be?
Ooh, man.
Like Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, like, completely erased from your cranium. You're going to go back and get into it again.
Wow. Well, for purely, just nostalgia reasons, Songs in the Key of Springfield, the Simpsons record. To be a kid again, that'd be great, yeah. Do the Bartman. Do the Bartman. You know what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
Bobby Bland, Dreamer.
Oh, okay. Okay. How come?
That hit me heavy. And it was be good to get hit again like that, So.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome. Well, so what's going on in the world of Greyhounds right now? New music, everything, tour, like tell everybody what's going on right now with you guys. What's happening?
What's going on, Farrell?
Well, as we mentioned earlier, we got, that EP that we just released not too long ago. It's called Adobe. And, we're about to go on the road with our good friend, Charlie Crockett, about to do about 4 weeks with him coming up in November, coast to coast. So keep an eye out for us, doing that. And we're always in the course of recording new music, coming up with new ideas. So just stay tuned. We'll be coming out with more stuff to get you upside the head. Let's hang out.
Heck yeah! And where can they find everything as far as website and all that?
Greyhounds Music.
Right.
Yeah, just Greyhounds Music. .com, Greyhounds Music, Facebook, Greyhounds Music, everywhere. Yeah, just whatever. And then look for him and me, and I'm usually wearing a cowboy hat, so we'll be on whatever thing we're doing.
Are you guys gonna make it out to Baltimore, like, or somewhere around me, like, for this next tour? He said coast to coast.
Oh yeah, we're doing DC. Yeah, believe it, the Lincoln Theater there.
Oh, nice.
So yeah, with Charlie. But yeah, we'll be going up and down the coast there.
There's a National.
With the National, that's right.
It's the place we did with Nathaniel Rateliff, I think.
That one, yeah.
Was that the National? It's a real big joint. Like, it's one of the biggest.
Is it the Anthem?
Maybe that's it.
Maybe that's it.
It's
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It's an inside.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll just keep my eyes peeled because if I can be there, man, I'm gonna come. Definitely for sure. So real quick, thanks to BV, my moderator. He's in here popping a bunch of links about you guys in the chat so people can check that out. Somebody did say one of my new favorite bands, Great Plains Singing and Grooves. So
Oh, dude, yeah. What's up, Franco?
Yeah, thank you, Franco.
But you guys, I mean, keep doing what you're doing, man. I absolutely love your band. I've been trying to spread the gospel as much as possible to all my music consuming friends who are into this vibe, because a lot of my friends are. And like I said, man, there's not enough bands doing what you guys do. And I love it, man. I can't wait to hear new music at some point in the near future, hopefully, as much as you guys are writing. If you got 50 songs or 40 songs laying around at a time.
Oh yeah, we got more coming for you. We got a lot we're working on right now. So expect everything. We got a kids record we're trying to get out.
Oh, that's dope, man. Cool.
But that's a whole nother story. But yeah, but thank you, Mark, very much, man. Like for having us on here.
Dude, absolutely my pleasure. I mean, it's such an honor to kind of chat with you guys and hear more about your story. It's so fun, and it's so fun that I know somebody who's like played music with you guys, and after the fact, after I discovered your music, it's just such a small world. It's such a small world. Anyway, you guys hang out for a second. Everybody take care of yourself. Take care of each other. We'll see you next time.